Hello guys, welcome to our channel. This is Roll. In today's video we'll be talking about the most recent balance patch and what it changed for us for every build, and we discuss all the changes and how they will affect our ranger for solo, open world PvE, my normal builds usually, and for competitive style like for world versus roaming. So if you want the short version, no build have changed anything. I will be just discussing what changed for the gameplay, what the conclusion of those balance patch stuff. However, only one build maybe got a tiny change or something like that, which would be condition Druid for open world. But all other builds you can run them with the same trait as all the old video and nothing will change. In this video I will be explaining those changes, or why we stuck with the same choices or with the same weapons and stuff like that. So let's start with the most bizarre change in this balance patch for me, which is evasive purity. So this trait, the last iteration of it, removed the cooldown, so it had no cooldown. Every time you dodge, as long as you have a dodge, this yellow bar here, endurance, every time you dodge it will cleanse a damaging condition and non-damaging condition. Now it will cleanse only one, and it's unspecified, so most of the time it will be damaging condition obviously, and it will heal you every time you cleanse in this method, only in this method, with a silly and unworthy number. Like this thing is pointless. Like I'm wondering why they even had it like that. They didn't want it to look like it's nerfed. Simply it's 1 instead of 2. Why make it 1 instead of 2? It's simple like that. You dodge, you cleanse one condition. But this number is just, it's nothing. It is pure nothing, because you have only 2 dodges, and no matter how much you increase your endurance regeneration through vigor, even if you're playing Soulbeast with a skill like this one, when you increase your endurance regeneration, this is still pointless. Fine, you will cleanse 3. This healing is nothing, and I would get it if the low number is something for the competitive, but this is PvE number. This is just weird. I have no idea why they made it like that. It's simply nerfed. Consider it, you cleanse one condition instead of 2. It is just like that. So your cleansing from this have been nerfed. So would that change any trait for us for our power build for PvE? So whether you're using Mace or Hammer or whatever, this is how the build looks? No. Because we still want the condition cleanse, and we do not switch bits because we want to move boons back and forth between us and the bit, so we don't remove the bit unless we really need it, like for the CC, for protection from turtle. But other than that, you always on Jacaranda or whatever damaging bit you're running, and you never switch from it unless you want to save this bit from dying, or you want the bubble for protection and stopping projectile from turtle, or want the CC from the turtle fast to break a defiance bar. But other than that, you don't switch bits. So having boons on bit swap is worthless. Besides, we have permanent might and permanent fury easily with this build, so boons are really not needed. Also, the amount of healing and the regeneration from the Warhorn skills is again useless. We can have permanent regeneration if we really good with our rotation, and it's not like we really need it. We have a lot of healing anyway, and the healing number is silly, so it's literally, there is no point in choosing anything else. What we struggle with is condition cleanse with a build like that, because we have very limited resources. If you run Mace, you only have skill 4 to cleanse condition, 2 condition, and 1 extra for every target you hit around you, and the skill mutate condition will cleanse everything around you and replace it, everything on you, and will replace it with vulnerability. So this was a very reliable thing. If you're trying to break combat or you still have a condition from a mob you killed, you simply dodge one dodge and you would cleanse condition. So right now it is nerfed, but it's still our best option in the build as it is. That's why I said you will find nothing truly changed in the build. So right now, if we compare our weapon options, since Mace have been nerfed and Hammer have been buffed. So the effect Force of Nature have been reduced from 25% damage and healing to other to 10% damage and 10% healing to other only. For a solo build, obviously we don't really care for the healing to others effect, however we care about the damage. Also, this skill have been nerfed, the power coefficient for both the impacts, the first and the last, and this one have been nerfed every hit and also the last hit on a different numbers, as you can see in the notes. And all those nerfs to the Mace are PvE centered, so the Mace is still as powerful in competitive in general. And the Hammer, on the other hand, have been increased or buffed in almost every skill one way or another. So for skill 2, the leashed version have been buffed. Skill 3, both versions have been buffed through reducing the cast time, not actually the damage. And skill 3, the leashed version have been increased in bar coefficient for World vs. World and PvP only. One way or another, whether it's in PvE, whether it's in general, whether it's only in competitive, you have some buffs. Like the radius for the skill 5 have been increased. This is the biggest buff, I would say. The radius is increased, and the unleashed version now grant boons on every target it hits, not only on the impact. So comparing the hammer with the mace is the main thing now for such build. So if you watched my last build video, this power untamed, especially if you're using mace, is very powerful. I can solo almost anything, like any bounty, legendaries. I soloed in videos a corrupted facet, botch, many things like that. So right now, after the nerf with the mace, if you compare it with the hammer, the mace in perfect rotation for both of them, and if you run hammer with full damage, like if you're unleashed and only hit your skills in unleash, which is not really optimal because you will lose the barriers, the protection, every other thing, but you will only get maximum damage, you end up with almost 1.5k at best scenario for the hammer, actually extra on mace. So mace is clearly a bit weaker than hammer now, which arguably should be because it is mostly also a support weapon, and it is still very powerful compared to other weapons. However, I also mimicked if you're in a real scenario and you wanted this barrier, you wanted a CC suddenly, so I would press like at least 3 skills while leashed and 1 while unleashed, something like that. I keep rotating on the weapon itself, and mimicked the same scenario for mace in case I just wanted to tank or something like that. So at this point, the both fall, and I would say mace performed a little bit even better, like 200 or 400 points on DPS for mace. However, also remember, in mace you don't need to be leashed. You only want to be leashed if you want to use Vow the Untamed to reduce the damage incoming to you until you can heal and something like that. But you can easily have an unleash state all the time, and you can still gain the barrier, the stability, do your CC and healing, everything, because there is no switching between skill and another like the hammer for the Untamed. Mace will give you a little bit more than 18k DPS, something like that, and hammer will give you, in perfect scenario, like full damage, about 19.5, something around this number. And I'm talking about only in solo. You are alone, no one giving you boons, no one helping you, and no one hitting the boss but you, no one putting condition or anything. For a real scenario, you also will want a barrier, or you want an extra CC, and then this falls down a little bit, and survivability become on the side of mace, because the extra stability, having access to a condition cleanse that doesn't exist for hammer, especially after a nerf like this one for evasive priority, and you can hit those skills twice, so this actually a 2-time condition cleanse that can heal, that can move a lot and give a lot of barrier with extra healing sources, stuff like that. Hammer, on the other hand, give you a source for boons. So if you look for hammer, the unleash skill from this one will give you extra might and fury duration for every target hits, so you're no longer counting only on exploding spores and the warhorn setup gaining might from warhorn 5 and auto attack on the axe. You can gain a lot of might and keep it up, keep moving it between you and your bit, even on the hammer itself, if you only hit skill 5 while unleashed. So both of them have their own advantages. For example, hammer have better mobility. It simply just make you a better quicken your feet. You don't feel very limited or hitting on a small area. Even especially with the increase for radius, for example, like for skill 5. So it's up to you, play what you want. But I would say that mace is still superior in the way it works. Superior in the stability you will get from force of nature. Both you and your bit grow bigger, and you have access to all your tools for survivability and damage all the time. It's allow you even to make more mistakes in a way, and the rotation is very clear to it. So I would kinda stick with the mace. They are both quite similar. You simply spam your warhorn and axe skill, move to the other weapon in rotation. As we explained in the build video, for mace you would hit the unleash skill and then 2, 3, 4, whatever order those are, and then 5. You don't hit 5 except it's the last one. So you would hit all the skills before you get force of nature, then you would start with 2 and then 5 again, and then those skills. So this one will come off cooldown before your unleash skill reset, and you can hit it while hitting the unleash also before you move to the other weapon, so you get extra healing and as much damage as possible. The hammer works the same, you will spam its skills as fast as possible, and you will find yourself able to hit skill 2 most of the time before you move to the axe again, while hitting also the unleash and skill 2. So both weapons work very similarly. So that for our power build, we will take it exactly the same, no change. And I have also looked in the changes to wellness survival, and they are absolutely worthless comparing to damage. This trait doesn't give you much, and this trait is very limited in how it works, even so it can grant some decent healing, but it depends on how much CC the build have actually. Now let's move to another PvE build that have changed, which is my PvE Druid. Is the only build that actually affected enough to have some change to it. So you can run the build as it is with wellness knowledge, but you can also move to carnivore, this new trait. The rest of the build is the same, and all the videos for those builds you will find them in the description and cards. So why is that? So Druid is a condition build, so it doesn't have power damage, but carnivore give you life siphon damage and life siphon healing. And the siphon damage in general does not really scale with power, so it doesn't kinda scale with anything. It will work the same. So it will give a full condition build access to a tiny bit of power damage, even if you hit structure or anything or a gate or something in PvE. And also it will give a really insane number of healing on a quarter-second cooldown on any disable you do. And who is the king of disable for ranger? It is Druid. For this build we run short bow and dagger torch, which mean we have this skill on short bow, we have this glyph, we have entering Celestia Avatar because of Blood Moon, and we have skill 3 inside Celestia Avatar. If we needed in one rotation, we can wait enough to use Lunar Impact twice, which mean we have 1, 2, 3, 4 inside Celestia Avatar, or we use in one rotation twice, so it's 5. So we can trigger this 5 times, meaning 15,000 healing and power damage when we didn't really have access to it. So you can have a lot of healing with this style. You sacrifice a condition cleanse from survival skills, which we run 3 of them. However, if you needed condition cleanse, you will always have this skill to use as a condition cleanse. In every rotation you'll use it twice, and it will cleanse a lot. And you have access to those 2 skills in case you need, like you just need to save yourself, fine, use it. You will heal, you will lose some damage obviously, because you will not deliver the damage aspect of both skills, like the healing from this one from carnivore and the triggering for Blood Moon, and also the bleed on this one was the trigger of Blood Moon because of the immobilize. But it is there in case you need it and your healing is not enough, or you just want to cleanse anything. So does this how the build look now? No. I'm simply giving you an option, because you can tank a lot using carnivore. In fact, you can solo the golem here where I'm standing on an extreme field if you run this trait. On a full trailblazer kinda build, you have no healing power as you can see, and I can solo on an extreme field and keep myself alive easily. Obviously the damage will fall because this is a survivor rotation when you constantly getting damage, but it works. And even the loss of fury will make you lose a lot of it, like you will not have permanent fury anymore, even with the change to natural balance that will give you 300 point concentration if this buff on you, as you can see now. So the fury from here increased to 6 seconds, but once that buff is removed it will fall a little bit to 5 seconds. As you can see, it's only 5 seconds. But that will only affect the amount of time we trigger sharpened edges. Nothing else is affected by critical chance for us. We are a full condition build. So it's up to you. You can run it like that and be very comfortable with the amount of condition cleanse you can run, or you can run it like that and have a really big spike of healing whenever you need, just with a CC, just with entering Celestia Avatar. Even you can do it from far. If you use this skill on an enemy from far like that because you can't stand on a field or something, it will trigger this effect and it will heal you for the 3k plus. However, there is something you need to know about this trait carnivore. It can only be triggered on one target at a time. So even if you use something like glyph equality to daze everyone around you, only one target will eat this life siphon damage, and only you will be healed one time. Now other traits have been changed. Empathic bond have been removed here, and it now removes the 2 condition on bit swap, not on beast skill, which is a skill you can control for bit, no on bit swap only, and trait survival instinct, which basically give you a constant 5% extra damage to your power damage and 5% extra reduction to damage coming to you. So you take less damage by 5% and do more damage by 5%, only in power damage, strike damage. However, this number changes depending on your health. If your health is above 50%, the increase to your damage is 10, while the reduction is still 5. If your health is lower than 50%, your extra damage is only 5, while the reduction is increased to 10%. So it works only for power builds, but it is more a combative style. It does not work for any PvE build I would think of. Like this trait line is still a condition trait line, or other than that it's only in combative. In PvE you won't run it in a power build clearly. Now no other build it takes carnivore, all of them will simply be stuck here. Like my main build, the hybrid Soulbeast, will be stuck here because it doesn't have too much CC, so the value of carnivore is very limited. It's already very tanky and can have multiple sources of healing. It does not need this. However, I need my condition cleanse. The same way goes for the condition Soulbeast. It doesn't have enough CC to make even this trait valuable. An extra once or twice healing from an entire rotation full cooldown of weapons is not worth taking. It's only for Druid when I find it quite valuable and really change how tanky or survival Druid can be. Especially, don't forget that this was a change to Druid a bit by Nerf. This trait, Natural Balance, used to give you 10% extra condition damage, condition duration, and lowers the damage coming to you from power, like from enemies, NPCs, by 10%, and now this reduction is removed, so you would take tiny bit little more damage. So now you can heal a little bit more also if you want. A little bit more of a change on that. Unnatural Traversal is now give quickness and the vulnerability amount is 10, not 2. So it is much better for competitive play, but this is not a skill you would run at all in PvE. We have permanent quickness easily by Let Loose and other skills if we need it, whether you're playing condition or power, so that change only relative to competitive builds. And Unleash ambush skills now will not autocast. You will have to click them by yourself, so you can really decide the time when you want to hit the enemy with, whether it's competitive or PvE, or simply click it as any other skills once you enter the Unleash state. Now for the competitive side and the notes that will really affect it. So Healing Spring have got some significant nerf and also Glyph of the Stars. Let's talk about that. So here I am in a world versus world style balance area, and as you can see, Glyph of the Stars can cleanse only one condition, and if you're inside Celestial Avatar it revives for much less than it used to, and it's on a 60-second cooldown. And the trap healing now lasts for only 5 seconds instead of 10, so the water field, the entire duration of the skill, is reduced by half. It will pulse on a 1 second interval instead of 2, and it will cleanse 1 condition instead of 2. In PvE it still cleanses 2 conditions, so it is nerfed for PvE and for World versus World in a way. At least in PvE it's debatable. You lose the water field, which you can keep blasting in it to trigger relic for healing, for example, or trigger different skills to simply heal from blasting in a water field or something like that. But you will get the same amount of condition cleanse, and you will stack the same amount of regeneration even faster, so you don't have to stay in the area for long. The condition cleanse will not happen on an extended period, so if you need it like that, no, it will end up moving very fast, and now you have nothing. So it is quite a nerf for any support build in PvE. For competitive, the nerf is much heavier, because now you can cleanse only half what you used to. That nerf have its advantages and disadvantages. So simply, the moment you start using Healing Trap right now, it will start cleansing immediately. Only 1 condition, but you will not have to wait an extra second when those 7 stacks of burning take on you for 3k before the second cleanse actually start. So it will keep happening immediately. It will shave off this 1 second every time. Where does that become a problem? It's when you have a lot of condition and simply the turn didn't come on this, or when you get knocked out of your Healing Trap or something like that. A lot of time would be gone and you would lose a lot of momentum of your survivability. So it is an advantage since it happens faster and more reliable. It is a downside since it doesn't cleanse as much. It is clear we can see that. However, I wanted to make it clearer about this idea of the sensitivity of time that this change kinda solve right now. So in a real scenario, where does this become a problem? It becomes a problem if the enemy doesn't have this much pressure and you can stay around or be stationary and can handle him or them, especially if you're trying to finish someone and you can create an area which those enemy didn't have a burst or simply control you. You are controlling the area. If you're running the trap itself under you and you can have the bubble, or you're inside City Avatar, so it can keep cleansing you in the background. You didn't need this really big cleanse immediately, and whenever they keep putting on you, it will keep being removed. And a skill come of cooldown like skill 3, you can heal inside your trap. Celestial Avatar can heal you almost twice depending on when you use the healing trap and the Celestial Avatar, because the long water field, the long duration, so this is gone. However, in the situation where you're kiting multiple people when you're running and simply healing and you can't stand still, you're simply trying to line of sight or climb up a hill or something like that, you might not get a single cleanse, so it was pointless. And if you got like one cleanse or two, simply stunning one enemy and then trying to dodge backward, those 2 clicks will cleanse as much condition or sometimes better, but will give you faster amount of regeneration. Remember, we have the same amount of regeneration, but it happened on 1 second interval, and the entire thing happened in only 5 seconds. So at a situation like this kinda can work like a buff. So the final thought. Does Healing Trap feel nerfed, or does the Druid play affected? Yes, the Healing Trap is much weaker than it used to. We cannot use it as reliably, especially if you're using a build that can fight for long periods of time like mine. But there is another change that can compensate for this, which actually Empathic Bond. This one. Because now we can switch bits, so a 20-second cooldown inside a combat, or if the bit is dead it's much longer, will cleanse 2 conditions from us. This does not only compensate part of what we lost from the trap, because the trap was 10, now 5, but add 2, then it's 7. And it's on a 20-second cooldown, so it's quite close to the trap. It gives you a spike if you want, or a delay if you need. So you can use the trap, and it's simply that you have 2 conditions like a torment and confusion from a mesmer. You simply cleanse them with your bit. You didn't even need to heal, or you cleanse them with the trap. You didn't need to switch your bit. So it gives you this choice to hold something until you actually need it. Also, it gives you a better choice if you want a huge cleanse immediately. Every resource for Cleanse Ranger have is not specifically designed for survivability. We don't have Shake It Off like Warrior. No, we can cleanse with our main hit like Sharpened Stone. We can cleanse with something like Entangle, which is meant to work as a way to catch the enemy, so we can land Celestial Avatar skill 5 on them completely. So using skills like this for cleanse wastes the other aspect of it, the damage or something like that, or saving it for that also will give your enemy a breathing room, a long one. If you save a skill like Sharpened Stone and not apply it until the enemy actually land a condition on you that you need to cleanse, then the enemy had a long time while he's saving his cooldowns and his own cleanses. And that's a problem Rangers struggle with. All the skills you have offer almost 2 sides to them. Or at least let's talk about my build. The skill, for example, it is a stun break, so it arguably the only one that it's pure survivability. But if you need to stun break and survive a burst, you didn't cleanse, and you lost one of your condition cleanses. So right now, to have more, since you can have an extra one on bit swipe, this is very good actually. So the final thought, because we run this trap as because we run this skill as our choice, with the trap you will barely feel the fall to your condition cleanse. You will get, when you get used to the new rhythm, the fast style, when you have to walk out of the trap faster because it's gonna go away, when you get the cleanse and the move, you throw a projectile defense and stop the upcoming attack, so you would have an extra cleanse later, like managing your cooldown, you will find it quite close. Is it less? Yes. It is still quite, even with both the trait and the trap, it feels a little bit weaker, but it is good enough that we don't really feel the effect if we run both of them. Now we have to run a trait and a skill to only compensate for what one skill used to do, but it works. And as we already explained, there's advantage and disadvantage to both the idea, having this condition cleanse split between a trait and a skill right now. And the other choices, this is for power build in general because it will increase your power damage and you will only get the value of the decrease to damage coming to you. We are very tanky. I have more than 3k armor running Apothecary and Trailblazer on this build. So we don't need this 5% extra damage reduction, this is pointless to us. And 120 condition damage also not worth the sacrifice of Empathic Bond. If you sacrifice Empathic Bond, you will find yourself really struggling against heavy condition fights. Whether it's broken builds like Thief or something like that, or simply in 1vx or outnumbered fights. You really need to run Empathic Bond. It's quite the crutch since we got nerfed here like that. Remember, unlike the very old Druid with the Ancient Seed and stuff, we used to run even something like Troll Unguent. We counted a lot on simply moving and preventing the enemy from moving. We didn't have Turtle, so we counted more on CC like Raggazal. So the idea of Turtle creating a bubble that's stuck in place make us want to gain this protection, heal from it, and be near the enemy, especially that now we need to keep casting skills for a long time while we are stationary. Being stationary like that, through our choice of bit, through our Celestial Avatar, because how Celestial Avatar changed since the remove of Ancient Seed, make us more susceptible to hitting more damage. You can't simply dodge and kite. A lot of the time you would find yourself have to even create a window to stay in place, so you can actually do damage to the enemy, which means we take condition damage more than we used to, we take power damage even more than we used to, we take more hits, unless we really create a good window, and yet in 1vx that window will not always be reliable. We have to have a way to move back to survive, to cleanse the condition we took, to heal after the damage we took. So we need this cleanse, like from the healing trap, and now this is quite the crutch and I wouldn't remove it, because especially the other two traits are not worth taking. Now, what was the idea behind this entire change? So the idea is especially directed to PvP more than World vs World, is the idea of running a build like that. Some people would running in World vs World 2, it's running Healing Spring and Glyph of Stars. So what I didn't like is that Arena nerfed both. Not only one, they nerfed both of them. Both of them got halved on the amount of condition cleanse they can do. For one condition cleanse here and one condition cleanse here. Running two at the same time used to be a bit strong. You would have stability and you can cleanse 2 condition per second, 2 condition per 2 seconds. That's crazy, that's unkillable for the duration those two skills have. And even so, this one had double the cooldown of this. But if you run survival skills, cleansing chisel, and even still having Celestial Avatar, the amount of cleanse could have been a little bit more big than many people can handle, especially in the hand of a very experienced druid. Even so, a build like that sacrifices a lot of damage. You don't have entangle, you don't have anything like that, but it worked for power builds, especially very strong druid builds that want to run hammer, for example, for 1v1s or for a small group fight. So they nerfed the glyph, but in a way that affect even Zerg play. Like I've used the glyph on people that just got down in Zergs and they couldn't get up. Like they needed like an extra pulse. If you have enough damage on those people, like barely enough damage, I'm not talking the Zerg is already on top of them, the glyph might not get people up. And that is quite the problem. The amount of revive I don't feel is enough. The amount of value that come from it I don't feel is enough. 60-second cooldown. I mean, it's still usable, it still works, it's still Grand Boon, it's still stability or cleanse. The glyph is still a good skill, but I think it's became a little bit too weak in competitive mode. So the bigger nerf, the true nerf, is not in condition cleanse for Druid. Because like I said, we can compensate with this trait. The true nerf is the removal of Shared Anguish. It's now, the icon of it is used for carnivore for some reason, but it used to be if you swipe bits in combat, both you and the new bit will get 1 stack of stability for 3 seconds. The amount of things we could do with this stack of stability was crazy in the right hand. For a start, it's 3-second stability, which means it's the amount of time you need to finish someone. So you would start casting the finish animation and you swipe bits. The finish animation would take 3 seconds. If you started before you swipe bits, you passed about quarter or half a second, and the stability will last 3 seconds. That's more than the entire time you need to finish the enemy. So if a necro fear you, if a guardian try to push you, it will not happen and you can simply finish it. So safe finishing was a thing. Now you can only do something like that if you're stealthed with your bit, or also if you blind an enemy that have to use a projectile or a skill that have to be target not multiple hits or something like that, or if you can use a projectile barrier against something like use a projectile to CC like engineer and warrior from skill 5 here, or the bubble, or simply stand behind your bit and the attack will hit it. Fighting something like ranger or trying to finish something like ranger, you would have to call your bit off, stop him from attacking, and stealth him next to you so the lightning the ranger call will not find a target to land on. So there's still multiple ways to go about this, but you don't have really the idea of safe stumps that you used to have an extra stack of stability. Now that's not the worst. You can cleave, you can do multiple ways like I explained for safe stump, but there is much more we lost. We have 2 stump breaks, so think of yourself that have 2 stump breaks and a stability, so you can save yourself from 3 CC that landed and you couldn't avoid them. So it's like you lost a stump break. Stability is as worse as much as a stump break if it's a single hit or something you can dodge out of, and if it's not a corruption like a will that corrupt your stability to fear. So it works basically like an extra stump break. Not only that, let's say you are running from multiple enemies that chasing you, and a guardian put in front of you the line that will actually prevent you from walking forward, or you fall into a maw trap for Dragon Hunter, or you find the ball of Dragon Hunter on you, or a Spellbreaker land its burst on you, so you have this ball line and he's moving backward or trying to pull you. In all this situation, if you're running from those people and the line in front of you, you switch bit and you can walk across it. You can't stump break across it, because it will simply knock you down, and once you stump break and try to walk, it will knock you down again. You have to walk around it, which means they caught you now. But if you had the shared anguish, you can simply move bit and start walking. If you're a Dragon Hunter trying to pull you, you can do the same and the ball will not land. The stability will be consumed and the ball will not take you. But if he ball you, you will always move to a distance. You will have to stump break and waste a skill that you didn't have to waste. And that depends of how fast you are, how good you're being, so he can end up balling you inside the trap before you can actually just move on. So you either lose a stump break, or simply even fall for what they're trying to do. So those are only some examples of how good this 1 stack of stability was. And right now, because we lost this stack of stability, we have no source of stability Druid. We back to this problem again. The only stability we can access is the initial cast that give you 2 stacks of stability on natural conversion. And since I'm not running celestial gear on this build at least, I have 2 seconds only. Even the cast of this skill is longer. So some of the tricks I would run is while casting it, I could swap bits if people try to interrupt me before I land the black hole effect. So I can even give myself more breathing rooms. There is solution for this, like for a start, CCing with your bit. If you're fighting one enemy, making sure the people can't do that from before, like if they already had an immobilize and the distance is not enough for a melee class, or even simply by casting skill 2 in Celestial Avatar to land a blind to prevent the upcoming CC or whatever hit that will stop you from completing the cast. So there is solutions, but we lost a big thing. Like I can keep going on different example on how I would use this stability stack, or how I was using it for, I don't know, since it was put in the game right now. But it is quite the loss. I wish ArenaNet changed Glyph of Equality like PvE, give us this single stack of stability on it, and it will be fine. Many classes have multiple sources of stability, and I don't understand why Druid have to be this crippled, to the point that this trait we had is removed. There is also other classes that got significantly affected by it, like Soulbeast. Soulbeast was able to keep getting stability simply by running this trait. So Soulbeast would change bit, and now it can cool down in combat. He would merge with the bit, get this button, and switch bit again to gain stability and move, and this one become resetted, and he can switch bit again, and every one of them give him stability. So a build like that got affected significantly, clearly. At least they get the extra condition cleanse now, so I guess that's 1 for 1, and they at least have the Doliac stance, so maybe they are actually winners. It depends on your build clearly, but it is quite the win for something like Soulbeast. So that's it for the entire thing. My build for Druid is still the same. You need to play carefully now. Really avoid being locked down. Especially you can't count on simply having stability and let a CC land so you save a dodge or something like that. You simply can't. So you need to be careful where you play, where you put your footing while trying to kite or position yourself. And the change to healing trap, you can use it to your advantage to actually allow you to do this. You can get fast cleanse and start moving immediately. You don't have to stuck in one place for 10 seconds. You can move on. And the build is still the same. I take the same choices, at least if you say locations. It's still 1, 3, and 2 in wilderness survival. It's still the same thing. The build is still the same, everything. If you want me to make a new update for it, maybe you tell me in the comment, like I go about the same build from the start to finish with new tips, tricks, or how I do things. I might do it, but I already had a playlist for Druid, and those are simply the updates or changes that come with it. So tell me what you think, or if you think I missed anything in this video, tell it in the comments, and I'll be seeing you next time. Peace.